So what happens when a little indie game decides to take on the biggest blockbusters in the world? Well, at the 2025 Game Awards, we found out in a huge way. Welcome to US Alert, and today we're going to break down the one night that had the entire gaming world buzzing. We're talking a massive underdog story, some insane new game reveals, and a debate that could, well, it could change everything.
Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll start by setting the stage for the big night. Then, we'll dive into the indie that absolutely dominated. After that, it's all about the massive new game announcements, what everyone on the internet was screaming about. And finally, we'll ask a question that might just be a turning point for gaming.
All right, Section 1, the stage for gaming's biggest night. You know, to really get why this year's show was just so nuts, you gotta understand what was on the line. The hype was real. So what really makes a game Game of the Year? I mean, it's the big one, right? The award every single developer dreams about. And it's not just about having the best graphics or whatever. It's about crafting an experience that sticks with you, something that pushes the whole industry to be better. The stakes, yeah, they were through the roof.
And look at this list. The nominees for 2025 were just insane. You had these absolute titans like Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding 2. Then you had the sequels everyone's been waiting years for, like Hades 2 and, oh my god, Hollow Knight's Silksong, plus heavy hitters like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Seriously, it was an all-timer year for games, which is exactly why what happened next was so unbelievable.
Okay, Section 2, an indie game's shocking sweep. Yeah, despite all those huge names, the entire night really belonged to one game, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. It's this beautiful new RPG set in this Belle Époque-inspired world, and it came out of nowhere and grabbed everyone. And the critics? They went absolutely wild for it. This quote here from Screen Rant pretty much sums it up. Hailed for its heart-wrenching narrative and unforgettably immersive world building. See, people weren't just saying it was good, they were calling it a straight-up masterpiece, a game that changed the game. So, what even is this game? Well, picture this. You take the classic turn-based combat from an old-school Final Fantasy and you smash it together with the super intense dodge and parry action of a modern Souls-like game. It's this incredible blend of old school and new school, all wrapped up in this stunning world based on historic France. It just felt right, you know? Both fresh and familiar at the same time.
And yeah, the industry definitely noticed. This wasn't just a hit with players, the critics loved it too. It ended up with, get this, 12 nominations. 12! For a brand new game from a studio nobody had really heard of before, that's already a win, a huge one.
But, it did not stop there. By the time the show was over, Clair Obscur had won a mind-blowing, record-shattering 9 awards. 9! This wasn't just a victory, folks. This was a hostile takeover.
I mean, just look at this list. It's absolutely staggering. They won Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score. Jennifer English won Best Performance for her amazing role, Best RPG, Best Indie, Best Debut Indie, and then the big one, Game of the Year. This has just never happened before, period.
Okay, but the Game Awards isn't just about trophies, right? It's also about the future. So let's talk about the other huge part of the show, the world premiere reveals. What new games are we all going to be obsessed with?
And first up, the one everyone was waiting for, Larian Studios. I mean, after the absolute phenomenon that was Baldur's Gate 3, the question on everyone's mind was, what could they possibly do next? And now we know. They're going back to their roots, back to the world of divinity. And get this, they're calling it their biggest, most ambitious RPG yet. Bigger than Baldur's Gate 3? How is that even possible? All we really saw was this super cryptic teaser with a giant, creepy desert statue called a Hellstone. Man, the hype is real.
All right, next up, a reveal that Star Wars fans have been, and I'm not exaggerating, waiting over 20 years for. A real successor to the legendary Knights of the Old Republic. It's called Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic, a single-player, story-driven RPG. And here's the kicker. It's being led by Casey Hudson, the guy who directed the original KOTR. He's back! They're promising that every single choice you make will push you closer to the light side or the dark side. Yes, please.
And finally, we gotta look at something new from Remedy Entertainment. You know, the folks who make those super weird, awesome, mind-bending games? Well, they showed us the sequel to Control, and it was a surprise for sure.
Okay, so it's called Control Resonant, and they are changing things up in a big way. It's not really a shooter anymore, it's an action RPG. And instead of the oldest house, it's set in an open-world, reality-bending version of Manhattan. Plus, you're not playing as Jessie anymore. You're playing as her brother, Dylan Faden. A totally different vibe.
So, a historic night for one game, a bunch of insane new trailers. You know what that means. The internet exploded. Let's dive into what everyone was saying.
And yeah, forums like Reddit just blew up. It was a total war zone. You had one side saying, A33 was my game of the year, it deserved everything. And then the other side firing back with, KCG2 was robbed, or Silksong should have won Best Art Direction. It was passionate, to say the least.
And the arguments were all over the place. A lot of people really felt Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was the better RPG. There was also a whole thing about Withering Waves winning the fan vote. But all of this was just noise. Because underneath it all, one single question started to pop up everywhere.
And that leads us to our final section, and honestly, the biggest question of the whole night. After this massive sweep, what even is an indie game anymore?
So, we all kind of know the classic definition, right? An indie game is made by a small team, no big publisher, no corporate money. It's the classic, a few people in a garage story.
Right. But here's where it gets complicated. Because when people started digging, they found that Clair Obscur doesn't exactly fit that picture. It was published by Kepler Interactive, which is funded by the tech giant NetEase. The team was almost 400 people, and the budget was reportedly over $30 million. Not exactly a garage project, huh? But hold on, because it's actually not that simple. See, Kepler Interactive isn't your typical publisher. It's more of a collective. It's co-owned by the studios themselves. So the idea is to get the money and stability of a big publisher, but keep total creative control. It's a new way of doing things, and it completely blurs that old line between indie and AAA. Which really leaves us with the biggest question of all. And I really want you to think about this one. Does a game's budget matter if the story's unforgettable? Does that indie label mean anything if a game connects with you on a deep level? What's more important? So now I'm turning it over to you. What do you think? Did Clair Obscur's historic sweep deserved? And is it a true indie game, or are we looking at something totally new? Let us know what you're thinking down in the comments.
And that's going to do it for this explainer. If you want more deep dives on the stories everyone is talking about, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to US Alert. We'll see you next time.